The evening rain poured relentlessly over downtown Chicago, painting the streets in slick reflections of neon lights and blurred headlights. Marcus Thompson moved quickly through the storm, his hand firmly holding that of his 7-year-old daughter, Lily. At 35, Marcus had mastered the art of city living. The shortcuts, the safe corners, the quiet alleys that trimmed minutes off a walk home. He worked long hours at the auto shop, picked Lily up from her dance class, and hurried home to the small apartment they shared on the city's south side. It wasn't fancy, but it was safe, warm, and full of love, something Marcus had promised his daughter after her mother passed away 3 years earlier. Lily skipped alongside him, her bright yellow raincoat glowing against the dim gray of the evening. She chattered nonstop about her recital, proudly describing every dance step she'd learned. Marcus smiled, nodding as he mentally ran to the evening's checklist: dinner, laundry, and bills. Maybe they still had pasta left. He didn't want to stop at the store again, not in this rain. They turned down a narrow alley, the quickest way home. Marcus knew it well, a shortcut that saved them nearly 10 minutes. But halfway through, something caught his attention. A figure sat slumped against the brick wall ahead, motionless, drenched, barely illuminated by the flickering light of a nearby street lamp. Marcus instinctively slowed down, his grip on Lily tightening. His instincts screamed caution. But as they drew closer, the shape took form, a woman in a light blue business suit. Her blonde hair plastered her face. One leg stretched out at an odd angle. She was holding a phone with trembling hands. Her expression a mix of fear and pain. "Daddy," Lily whispered, "that lady looks hurt." Marcus's first impulse was to keep walking, to protect Lily, to get her out of whatever situation this might be. The city wasn't kind to those who got involved. But the woman's eyes met his, wide and desperate, and he saw no threat there, only fear. "Please," she said shakily, "please don't hurt me. I think my ankle's broken. I can't walk." Her voice cracked. She wasn't dangerous. She was terrified. Marcus crouched, motioning Lily to stay behind him. "It's okay," he said softly. "We're not going to hurt you. My name's Marcus. This is my daughter, Lily. We just want to help." The woman's breathing slowed slightly. "I was walking to my car," she said, wincing. "My heel got caught in a grate. I fell, and I heard a snap. My phone's almost dead. I couldn't call for help." Marcus saw the swelling around her ankle, ugly and immediate. From his years coaching youth basketball, he recognized the signs of a fracture. "All right," he said calmly. "Let's get you some help." He handed his phone to Lily. "Sweetheart, remember what we practiced? Call 911. Tell them where we are." Lily nodded solemnly, her little face serious, focused. As she called, Marcus removed his jacket and gently placed it under the woman's head to keep her off the wet pavement. "Is that better?" he asked. The woman, shivering, soaked, and pale, nodded. "Thank you. What's your name?" "Alexandra," she said. "Alexandra Sterling." Marcus recognized the name faintly, but didn't place it. Her designer bag and diamond-studded watch spoke of wealth, but none of that mattered in that dark alley. Right now, she was just a human being in need. Lily finished the call and returned the phone, beaming proudly. "They said an ambulance is on the way, Daddy. And the lady on the phone said we did the right thing." Alexander gave a weak smile. "You're very brave, young lady. Most people would have just walked by." "Daddy says that's when you're supposed to help," Lily replied, her voice small but certain. "When nobody else does." The rain poured harder. Marcus tried to shield both Lily and Alexandra under his umbrella, though it did little good. He kept Alexandra talking, partly to keep her conscious, partly to calm her fear. "Do you have someone I can call?" he asked gently. "A friend or family member?" Alexandra let out a soft, humorless laugh. "I have employees, business associates, people who want things from me. But I'm not sure there's anyone who'd come just because I needed help." Marcus glanced at her, really looked this time, under the expensive suit and corporate polish. She looked tired, lonely. He recognized that kind of emptiness from his own early years as a single parent, when every day was survival and every night felt like defeat. "What do you do, Alexandra?" "I'm the CEO of Sterling Technologies," she said, voice heavy with fatigue. "I was working late, as usual. I just wanted to get to my car." She gave a short, bitter laugh. "I can manage million-dollar deals and lead hundreds of employees, but I can't even walk across a parking lot without falling apart." Marcus smiled softly. "Ma'am, having an accident doesn't mean you're falling apart. It just means you're human. Everyone needs help sometimes." When the ambulance finally arrived, the flashing lights cut to the rain like salvation. The paramedics quickly assessed Alexandra's injury, thanking Marcus and Lily for their help. As they prepared to lift her onto the stretcher, Alexandra caught Marcus's hand. "Wait," she said breathlessly. "Please, I don't even know your last name. You could have kept walking, but you didn't. Can I have your contact information? I like to thank you properly when I'm not sitting in an alley." Marcus hesitated. He didn't want anything in return. He'd just done what anyone should. But something in her eyes, a rare, genuine gratitude, made him relent. He scribbled his number on a piece of paper, handed it to her, and watched as the ambulance doors closed. As the flashing lights disappeared down the street, Lily tugged his sleeve. "Daddy, will that lady be okay?" Marcus smiled. "Yeah, baby. She'll be okay now." He didn't expect to hear from her again. 3 days later, his phone rang from an unknown number. Marcus almost ignored it, until a familiar voice came through the speaker. "Marcus, this is Alexandra Sterling, the woman from the alley." He paused, surprised. "Oh, Alexandra, how's the ankle?" "It's broken," she admitted with a dry laugh. "But it'll heal. The doctors say I was lucky. More importantly, I wanted to thank you and Lily again. I've been thinking about what happened that night." Marcus shifted, leaning against the kitchen counter. "You don't need to thank us. Anyone would have stopped." "That's the thing," Alexandra said quietly. "They didn't." Her voice wavered. "Security footage from the parking garage showed 7 people walked past me before you stopped. 7 people saw a woman sitting alone in the rain and just kept walking. I realized something, Marcus. I've spent 15 years building a company, chasing success, earning respect, but I've never built the kind of life where anyone would stop for me just because I needed help." Her words hit him harder than he expected. "You have a daughter," Marcus said softly. "You mentioned her that night." "Yes," Alexander replied. "Sophia. She's 8. She lives mostly with her father, my ex-husband. I work 80-hour weeks. I thought I was doing it for her. But when I was lying there, scared and alone, I realized that if something happened to me, Sophia wouldn't hear from her mother. She'd hear from a lawyer or an assistant." Her voice broke. "That's not the legacy I want to leave." Marcus didn't know what to say, so he simply listened, the way he'd once wanted someone to listen to him when his own world had fallen apart. Over the following weeks, Alexander called Marcus a few more times. At first, just to give updates about her recovery, but their conversations gradually deepened. What started as polite gratitude soon became something genuine, an unlikely friendship between a single father who'd once lost almost everything and a CEO who'd realized she built everything except a meaningful life. Alexandra kept her promise to change. While her ankle healed, she worked from home for the first time in years. She spent quiet mornings video calling her daughter Sophia, who seemed shy at first, but warmed quickly when Alexandra asked about her drawings, her favorite books, and her school friends. The guilt of lost years weighed heavily, but she was determined to start over. "Marcus," she confessed during one of their calls, "I don't even know how to be around her anymore. She's used to her father's house, her routines. I show up, and she barely knows what to say to me." Marcus smiled through the phone. "Start small. Just be there. Kids notice presence more than words. Lily doesn't remember what I buy her, but she never forgets when I show up." That advice stayed with her. Alexandra began rearranging her schedule, blocking off time for Sophia, something she'd never done before. She traded board meetings for art shows, video calls for bedtime stories, and deadlines for playdates. It wasn't easy. The first few times she canceled major meetings, her assistant looked at her like she'd lost her mind. But Alexandra had found clarity in that rainy alley, and she refused to lose it again. Meanwhile, Marcus's life began to change too. One morning, Alexandra called with unexpected news. "Marcus," she said, "I've been thinking about how to properly thank you and not with money. You mentioned struggling with work hours. My company is starting a new family wellness initiative. We're looking for someone who understands what real community support looks like, not just on paper. I think that's you." Marcus hesitated. "You're offering me a job?" "I'm offering you an opportunity," Alexander corrected. "You've been showing me what balance looks like. I want you to help us build that for others." It was a turning point. The position gave Marcus flexible hours, better pay, and the chance to build programs that helped single parents, working families, and caregivers, people just like him. But it wasn't charity. It was a partnership, mutual respect between two people who had changed each other's lives in ways neither had expected. Over the next year, they collaborated on several projects: family resource centers, mentorship programs, and community workshops. Alexander often brought Sophia along, and Lily quickly became her friend. Watching their daughters play together made Alexander smile in ways her colleagues had never seen before. "You know," she told Marcus once during a quiet evening meeting, "for the first time in my life, I don't feel like I'm running out of time. I feel like I'm finally living in it." He nodded. That's what happens when you stop chasing success and start living for connection. 2 years after that rainy night, Sterling Technologies hosted a major community event downtown. The company had grown, not just in profit, but in purpose. Marcus and Lily attended, dressed neatly, both beaming with quiet pride. On stage, Alexandra stood beside her daughter Sophia, her once corporate posture softened by warmth and humility. She looked out at the crowd of employees, families, and community members. 2 years ago, she began, I was alone, sitting injured in a dark alley in this very city. I couldn't walk. I couldn't even call for help. 7 people walked past me that night, but one man and his young daughter stopped. They didn't ask who I was or what I did. They just helped. That moment changed my life. The crowd fell silent as she continued, her voice steady but emotional. That man, Marcus Thompson, reminded me that compassion isn't an act of charity. It's an act of humanity. He showed me that the truest measure of success isn't profit margins or market share. It's whether we show up for each other when it matters most. Her eyes found Marcus in the audience. He and his daughter taught me that strength isn't about control. It's about care. That wealth isn't about what you own. It's about the lives you touch. Applause filled the hall, but Alexander wasn't finished. Since that night, I've changed how I live, how I lead, and how I love. I reconnected with my daughter. I learned that being a good parent isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. And today, Sterling Technologies is committing to that lesson. From this day forward, every employee will have access to flexible hours, family wellness programs, and community support, because no one should have to choose between success and connection. The crowd rose to their feet. Marcus felt Lily's small hand slip into his, her smile bright as ever. "Daddy," she whispered, "that's the lady we helped." He nodded, emotion catching in his throat. "Yeah, baby. And look what she did with that help." After the speech, Alexander stepped off the stage and approached them, her heels clicking softly against the polished floor. Without a word, she hugged Marcus, a quiet, grateful embrace that said everything. "Thank you," she whispered, "for reminding me what really matters." Marcus smiled. "You did that yourself. We just stopped to help." She shook her head gently. "You stopped and changed the direction of 2 lives, maybe more." As cameras flashed and the event continued, Marcus and Lily lingered by the refreshment table, watching families laugh and employees mingle freely, not as workers, but as people. "Daddy," Lily said after a moment, "do you think helping someone always changes things?" Marcus looked down at her, the girl who had calmly called 911 in the rain, who had reminded a stranger what humanity looked like. "Yes," he said softly. "Maybe not right away, but always does." That night, Alexandra sat by her daughter's bedside, tucking Sophia in after reading her favorite book. The sound of rain pattered gently against the window, a reminder that night 2 years ago. She thought of Marcus, of Lily, of how one act of kindness had rebuilt her entire world. And somewhere across town, Marcus sat beside Lily as she drifted to sleep, the faint glow of the city outside their window. He thought of how a simple decision, to stop and help, had brought new purpose, new friendship, and new hope into their lives. Both of them, in their own ways, had discovered the same truth. That compassion doesn't just save others. It saves us too.